Hey guys, former film student back today with episode 9 of my 31 Nights, 31 Frights series. This time reviewing a movie that I don't think is very good. It's actually kind of bad, but it's pretty fun, so let's discuss Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. So House of a Thousand Corpses was directed by acclaimed singer-songwriter Rob Zombie, who's most famous in the world of cinema for directing the two Halloween remakes, both films that I do not really enjoy. House of a Thousand Corpses was his first film and was released in 2003 and stars Sid Haig, Sherry Moon Zombie, and a young Dwight Schrute, aka Rainn Wilson. The film is pretty poorly made from a lot of technical standpoints. The lighting is pretty awful in many scenes, the cinematography itself is pretty boring with uninteresting camera work and poorly composed shots. The score for the film is pretty forgettable as well, and none of the musical tracks really do much to add anything to the scenes they're utilized in. And the worst part about the film is probably the editing, which is prone to give anyone with epilepsy a seizure. Way too many quick and jarring cuts to add some sense of style to the film, but usually just end up taking you out of the scene. The pacing itself is also strange, and events happen at really odd parts in the film and feel like they should have been placed in other parts. The acting is pretty subpar despite the main murderer's family being pretty entertaining to watch. However, our four unsuspecting tourists are pretty flat and often cringy when delivering dialogue. What I get from watching this film is that it was made by a guy who clearly loved horror films growing up, and once he had enough money decided to make one, but never really did the necessary legwork to learn how to make a great film. The film has clear influences from films like Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as both films involve a family full of eccentric murdering psychopaths. But even though I'm not the biggest fan of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I still acknowledge why it's an iconic film in the horror genre. The low-budget, grimy, and otherwise unprofessional look of the film adds a sense of realism to the experience and makes it feel almost as if you're watching a documentary instead of a piece of fiction. House of a Thousand Corpses neither is low-budget and dingy-looking enough to have that same effect, or well-made and scary enough to be classified as a great horror film. Yet this film still has a cult following and is still considered widely to be Zombie's best work as a director. So if I don't really love this film, why am I discussing it? Well, I think this film is actually a lot of fun. This is what I call a beer movie. A movie that is put on with a couple of friends to grab a few beers and just sit back and watch a really twisted and fucked up movie. It's actually quite a lot of fun when you look past the poor filmmaking aspects and just take it as a passion project from a guy who loves horror films. It's bloody, violent, sick, twisted, and filled with a slew of over-the-top characters. One thing that I will say about the film that I thought was incredibly well done was the production design. Both the costume and set design in the film are really cool and interesting. Whether it's the design and makeup work on some of the antagonists of the film or the really detailed and well thought out sets that end up giving the film a lot of personality. Overall, if you're in the mood for a poorly made but really entertaining and fun Halloween-like film, then I'd recommend checking out Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. Keep in mind this movie is really sick and demented, so if that's not your thing, you probably will not like this. If movies like Saw or other films involving torture and body mutilation make you sick, best to keep away from this film. Well, that's all for today. If you guys have seen this film, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments down below. As always, if you liked the video, make sure to click the like button, subscribe to me if you want to hear more from me, and click the little bell notification if you want to get notified when I post new videos. As always, I will see you guys next time.